The first time anyone noticed him, it was because he was kneeling on the cold marble floor of a private hospital hallway, holding a small, trembling hand and whispering hope into a silence that doctors had already filled with defeat. Around him, expensive shoes walked past without slowing down, nurses avoided eye contact, and a billionaire mother stared through a glass wall at her disabled daughter, her face frozen in a grief so deep it had forgotten how to cry. No one expected a miracle that day, especially not from a single dad with worn-out shoes, a tired face, and nothing to his name except stubborn faith and a broken past. If you believe that kindness still matters in this world, that second chances are real, and that miracles sometimes come from the most unexpected people, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are quietly breaking. His name was Daniel Carter, and life had never been gentle with him. Years earlier, he had been a construction worker with steady hands and simple dreams, until a workplace accident crushed more than just his leg. Medical bills buried him, his wife left under the weight of constant struggle, and he was left raising his 5-year-old son alone while learning how to walk again with pain that never truly faded. Daniel learned to live smaller, quieter, humbler. He took odd jobs, cleaned buildings at night, fixed what others threw away, and taught his son that dignity had nothing to do with money. Every day was survival, but every night he prayed not for wealth, only for strength to keep going. The hospital became part of his life because his son, Noah, suffered from a rare neurological condition that caused unpredictable seizures. Daniel knew the smell of antiseptic, the sound of monitors, the look doctors gave when they were running out of answers. He had sat in waiting rooms for years, watching rich families pay for hope while he relied on charity programs and patience. That was how he ended up there on that particular morning, waiting for test results that would decide whether his son's condition had worsened again. Exhausted, he let Noah rest in a nearby children's area while he stepped into the hall to clear his head. That was when he saw her. She was about the same age as Noah, sitting in a specialized wheelchair, her thin legs unmoving, her arms stiff and uncooperative. Her eyes were open, but distant, as if the world existed somewhere she could not quite reach. Machines surrounded her, and 2 private nurses hovered anxiously. Her mother stood behind the glass, dressed in elegant black, gripping her phone as if it were the last solid thing left in her life. This was Evelyn Monroe, one of the most powerful women in the country, a self-made billionaire whose companies shaped industries. Yet in that hallway, she looked smaller than anyone Daniel had ever seen. Daniel did not know her name at first. He only saw a child trapped in a body that refused to listen, and a mother drowning silently. When one of the nurses struggled to calm the girl during a muscle spasm, Daniel felt something pull at him. Years of caring for Noah had taught him things no textbook could. He knew patterns, breathing rhythms, the subtle ways fear showed itself in children who could not explain what they felt. Without thinking of consequences, he approached and gently placed himself within the girl's line of sight. He did not touch her at first. He simply breathed slowly, deeply, exaggerating the motion, letting calm radiate outward. Then he placed his hand where she could see it and began a small, repetitive motion he had once used to ground his son during seizures. The nurses hesitated, ready to stop him, but something about his presence made them pause. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the girl's breathing steadied. Her eyes shifted. Her fingers twitched, just once, as if responding to something familiar. Behind the glass, Evelyn's knees nearly buckled. Doctors had told her for years that her daughter, Lily, would never improve beyond minimal responsiveness. They had tried experimental therapies, flown specialists from around the world, spent millions chasing progress that never came. Hope had become a dangerous thing, something she tried not to touch anymore. Yet here was a stranger doing in minutes what science had failed to do in years. Daniel stepped back as soon as the episode passed, apologizing quietly and returning to his corner of the hallway. He expected to be scolded or escorted out. Instead, a senior doctor approached him with disbelief etched across his face. Questions followed, cautious but urgent. Daniel explained his experience with his son, his routines, his trial and error understanding of neurological distress. It was not formal training, just years of necessity and love. Evelyn finally emerged from behind the glass. Up close, Daniel saw the cracks in her composure, red eyes, trembling hands, a voice tight with restraint. She asked him if he could do it again, not demanding, but pleading. Daniel hesitated, acutely aware of the invisible line between helping and overstepping. But when he looked at Lily, he saw Noah on his worst days, and the decision was already made. Over the next hour, under medical supervision, Daniel repeated the grounding techniques. Something extraordinary happened. Lily's eyes began to track movement more consistently. Her breathing patterns improved. The rigid tension in her arms softened slightly. These were small changes, medically speaking, but to Evelyn, they were earthquakes. Years of grief cracked open, and tears streamed down her face as she watched her daughter respond to a human connection that no machine had ever provided. Word spread quickly through the hospital. Specialists observed, took notes, whispered theories. Daniel felt overwhelmed, uncomfortable with attention, but focused on the child in front of him. For the first time in a long while, he felt useful in a way that mattered deeply. When it was over, he quietly returned to his son, expecting that would be the end of it. It was not. Evelyn asked to speak with him privately. She did not offer money. She did not promise favors. Instead, she told him about Lily's birth complications, the diagnoses, the years of fighting alone despite her wealth. She admitted something she had never said aloud, that all her power had been useless when it came to saving her child. Daniel listened without judgment. When he shared his own story, his voice steady but tired, something shifted between them. This was no longer billionaire and janitor, benefactor and beggar. This was parent to parent, united by the same quiet terror of losing a child piece by piece. Evelyn asked Daniel to stay, to help Lily as often as he could. He resisted at first. He had a son to care for, bills to pay, a fragile stability he could not risk. But Evelyn insisted on making arrangements that respected his dignity. Flexible hours, transportation, support for Noah's medical needs. Not charity, she said, but partnership. Daniel agreed, not because of what was offered, but because he saw the light in Lily's eyes flicker when he was near. Weeks passed. Under a carefully designed routine combining Daniel's intuitive methods with professional therapy, Lily began showing consistent improvements. She responded to touch. She followed faces. One afternoon, her fingers curled weakly around Daniel's thumb, and the room fell silent. Evelyn collapsed into a chair, sobbing openly, years of suppressed grief finally released. Doctors confirmed what they had once dismissed as impossible. Lily was not only aware, she was learning. The miracle was not sudden or magical. It was slow, exhausting, fragile. But it was real. Daniel's life changed too. Noah's condition stabilized with access to better care. He watched his father help another child and learned empathy beyond his years. For the first time since the accident, Daniel felt like his broken path had led somewhere meaningful. He was still tired, still scarred, but no longer invisible. As Lily continued to improve, media interest grew, but Evelyn protected Daniel fiercely, keeping the story private. This was not about headlines. This was about healing. On the day Lily managed to lift her head on her own, Evelyn broke down completely, clutching her daughter and thanking every force she had once stopped believing in. Daniel stood quietly nearby, tears in his own eyes, thinking of all the parents still sitting in waiting rooms, praying for something, anything, to change. Before the story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word, hope. Your comments help this message reach more people who may need it right now. Near the end of that long journey, Evelyn made one final gesture. She funded a foundation in Daniel's name, dedicated to helping families with neurologically disabled children who could not afford care. Daniel did not want recognition, but he accepted the responsibility, knowing how many lives were waiting for a chance. The single dad who once knelt unnoticed on a hospital floor now stood as proof that compassion, not money, was the greatest force of all. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that miracles often arrive through ordinary people who refuse to give up, please like this video, share it, and leave a heartfelt comment. Your engagement keeps stories of kindness alive, and somewhere, another parent might find the strength to believe again.